at least some of the stuff that I'm thinking of right now, that I'm, you can see me, Joel.
Justin's holding himself back. He's like, his blood pressure is like 180
deep
over 30.
Yeah. And so, oh man, my heart's going to explode, Joel.
Yeah.
Damn. All right, we're rolling, man.
Yo.
I just feel like somebody stabbed me in the heart with a knife, man.
Oh yeah, what did you just get duped or something? What happened?
I just got a message on one of my reports for the live hacking event that's like, hey, there's like this mitigating factor to your most impactful report, and it just it just hit right before the pod too. So I'm like, ugh. So now I can't stop thinking about like, how am I going to bypass that? How am I going to bypass that? But it happens. It's the life of a bug bounty hunter.
Yeah, man, that's rough. That sucks. I hate it when that happens. We should maybe have a new policy that you shouldn't check your email, but right before the pod.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I don't know, man. I get the push notifications on my phone, obviously, for my email. And then as soon as I see it's like from HackerOne related stuff, it's like crack. Like I got to open that shit right away, but sometimes it comes across pretty hard, and man, my fickle heart.
Yeah, I had one of those yesterday morning too. I was like just waking up. I was going through my inbox and I was like, oh, hey, they finally updated the report that I reported before the weekend. I go and I check, and they're like, "Oh, actually, this is informative." I was like, "Oh no,
hate it." Still happens, man. Actually, I don't know what's up with this event, and I'm glad my sort of QA process caught it. But I've actually had 2 or 3 false positives this event that I was getting ready to submit, and I was like, "Wait, maybe I should just run through this again." And then I run through it again, and I got something messed up, and it's like, it just takes the wind out of you so bad.
I hate that. Yeah, we had that happen a couple times as well, where it's like things were behaving like super weird, and we're like, maybe this is like a bug. We should probably report it. Let's just double check it and like run it through. It just doesn't work again. And
yeah,
it's so
are you working with someone for this event?
I'm working with a bunch of different people on just like little different things.
Just collabing around.
Yeah, it's just like little bugs. Like if they have like one thing that they want to like work on, we'll jam on that, and then like I'll go and I'll mess with something by myself, and then I'll hop over to somebody else, and yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've got I think we're like 5 or 6 days into the event now, and I've got like 4 or 5 bugs, and I hope this impactful one that I kind of rabbit holed on, I hope I can figure it out, because if I can't, that's gonna be painful for sure. But it's a little bit slower than usual, but the scope for this event is a little bit tricky, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was just commenting to somebody else that like these big events are fun, but also like not as fun, I think, just because one, like there's so much scope that it's almost hard to like figure out what you should be looking at and trying to optimize. And then usually the larger events have more hackers, which is more intimidating. There's more reports. Like right now, I won't say who, but like one of the targets, there's 2 targets. One of the targets has like 150 reports or something already. The other one has like 80. And like one person alone has like 70 reports on one of the targets. So it's like,
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, there's like a lot. So for me, like the imposter syndrome and the like, oh man, I'm just going to dupe on everything. That's like huge right now. But you got to like figure out ways to navigate through that.
Yeah, it's events like these where you got to really stick to the tips that you preach on the pod. Like I come on the pod and I'm like, really, you just got to stay in your lane, pick your target, pwn it, just go for it. Don't worry about. But then when you get in the situation, applying it is so much different, Yeah. And so I definitely feel that. But the other thing about these bigger live hacking events is that, there's so much scope. And in the beginning, you can't really do due diligence on everything to see like, all right, this is where I should, go hack, because it takes too much time. So for this event, there's probably 15 applications that I could spend the whole event on in scope for this event, right? And so really you just got to pick your one and you got to stick to it and you got to do it, right? But it's also kind of a crapshoot then, because you could just pick the wrong app, the app that's just not as vulnerable. And you do your best to do your due diligence at the beginning, but that's just kind of how the cards lie sometimes. So I'm having fun with my app, and as long as I make my my little, nut that I need for the month or whatever, then I think it'll be good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I had a very similar experience where like before the event started, before the kickoff calls, I was like, okay, I'm gonna focus on this thing like specifically. I'm just gonna spend all the time like hacking this one thing, and I'm gonna find some sick bugs. It's gonna take me some time. Then like 2 days in, I was already hacking the other target. I was like, I was like, man, like I need to like go hack this other stuff. Like, I'm not finding what I want here. I need to like switch it up. Like, yeah.
This is one of the reasons I think I enjoyed our last little collab that we did together over the previous live hacking event, because I think one of my things is I will actually stick to the target that I commit to, like, and I won't get derailed, won't go look at anything else. I'll just stick to it. And I think I think you have the capability to jump around from different target to target and still find bugs. But I think if I can just direct you, and just like, no, Joel, we're going to focus on this. Like, this is the thing. Like, let's do it right now. Then I think we had some really cool results. And
it's true. I've been told this in other aspects of my life as well, that it's like, I'm like a car that's like speeding forwards, but I have like really bad turning, and so like if somebody could just like steer it in the right direction, it's just like full speed ahead. But keeping the analogy though, you are moving quicker than most people are though, so I think it works for you. You still get where you're going, even if you're not taking the most efficient path. We all get there in the end.
Cool, for sure.
All right, let's dive into some news.
What's on first up on the docket?
Okay, so I was scrolling through Twitter this morning. I literally I wake up at like crazy early. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like open Twitter, and like I have this notification. It says like new tweet from InfoSec AU.
Oh man, here we go.
And like for the record, I love shoves. I don't have tweet notifications turned on, which means that this is like a popular enough tweet that I got sent to me. Okay, by Twitter. And I opened it up, and it's like, oh yeah, I was working on this like crazy research with ZLZ and Brett Zayat and Reese Elmore. And here's a blog post, and I like open it up, and it's like hacking like root TLD servers, and I'm like, okay, cool. So they hacked the internet. Got it. They did it again.
Yeah. Dude, it's so funny you say that, because that's literally the exact same thing that happened to me. Like I mean, minus the whole waking up at crack of dawn thing. I woke up at 6:30, rolled over, hit snooze, woke up at 7:30, then I picked up my phone, and Twitter had bumped to my notification list this amazing thing, and I opened it right away and just read through. I was like, oh man, like, good morning to me. And then I see this tweet, and then before I know it, I'm halfway through, my eyes are wide open, I'm like heartbeats racing, following this story that they got on here. So it's pretty sick, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I love these posts, because every once in a while, like there's this group of people, especially Sam, ZLZ and Zayat, like those two
they're the common denominator across all the different groups, I think.
Yeah, and generally they'll be like a couple months, like things will be just like going by, like nothing's happening, and then out of nowhere, like there'll be like a 5-page blog post that's like detailing how they hacked some core infrastructure within like the global internet or something. It'll be like, we hacked undersea cables, we hacked TLDs, we hacked all the car like start like engine remote start stop shit. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we talked about that sort of tendency on episode 17, the live episode that we did in LA. And it just, particularly Sam, has an uncanny ability to just find critical internet infrastructure and like destroy it. So it's kind of nuts.
Yeah, like these, I like to think that I have these same kinds of thought processes, but then they end kind of where I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder how that works. And then I just move on.
Yeah, or they don't have a bug bounty program. Move along, I feel like I'm too focused on that. Like I feel like, I don't know, and it's also a little bit of a ballsy thing, like I haven't done a lot of just, let's call it good faith security research, right? I think that's the term that they use in the computer fraud or whatever.
That is the modified term, yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And so like I haven't done a lot of good faith security research, and just for fear of crossing boundaries, causing people a nightmare, that sort of thing. But, every time they drop a blog post about the stuff that they've done, I think, man, like if somebody else had done this would have been a nightmare for the whole internet. Right. And, at this point, Sam and squad have saved the internet like 6 times. So I have to respect that, whether or not I agree with the going out of scope or not.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think like now we're starting to get into an era where that type of work is a lot more like okay and allowed
Yeah.
and stuff. But you know,
Yeah.
5-10 years ago, this wouldn't have been like, if you did this, there was actual serious risk that something really bad could
Yeah.
happen. Like you could just get charged by like, you know, and like
A la
sent to
Doggy
jail.
G.
Yeah, a la
Yeah.
Doggy G, you know, like, you know, you're hacking like such core infrastructure that this stuff can be taken the wrong way. But I think we're finally starting to get to a point, and especially with the laws and everything that have changed, that like security research, especially ethical, like white hat security research, is a lot more accepted and mainstream. And so,
Love to see it.
you know, coming from that approach, I think Sam, especially with all the experience Sam has done this so many times with so many other companies. And I don't mean that in like a negative way. Like that's just like his jam, and that's cool.
Sam just hacks whatever, man.
Yeah, he sees something interesting, he's like, I'm gonna hack that. And that's like it, you know, once he's gonna hack it. And so I think he has figured out the right ways to communicate that with companies in a way that's such that he doesn't come across as like threatening or like anything like legal. And I think he's even said privately only a handful of times, like literally like a couple of times, has it ever even edged towards like the case where like things would be going negatively in the communications, and it never actually ended up that way. It was just kind of like, this is sketchy communications, let's just like you know, move on and get this over with.
Yeah, for sure, man. No, I respect that, and I will confess, I recently succumbed to the temptation and hacked a cool target that I wanted to hack. And I have not gotten any response back despite following Sam's template. And I didn't put any, but you know, the way that, because I hit Sam up, I was like, all right, Sam, like I did the thing. How do I tell people about it, right? And Sam's like, all right, you should do this. And so I followed his instructions, and I really like the way that he approaches it, because it's very non-threatening. It's very professional and you know, cards on the table forward, you know, and so I really like that. We should have him on the pod and to talk about that specific thing. I'll note that down for a future topic, because that is a pretty cool, unique feature of Sam et al. You know, going after these sort of out of scope things, and the way that they deal with it, I think, is something that the community could benefit from.
Yeah, for sure. This was actually reminding me, now that we're thinking about it, we're talking about like contacting website owners and stuff. There was a really interesting repo that popped up on my Twitter feed, and we'll link this in the show notes. It's by John Keegan, and it's called Behind This Website. And it's essentially a checklist. It's on GitHub. And it's a checklist of things that you can go through to try and identify who actually owns a website. So it's stuff like, are there authors listed? What is the local time of the website? Does it have an RSS feed? Do they have links to like Facebook and Twitter? If so, do they have contact info on the Facebook page? Here's where you can find it, all that kind of stuff. And I think for like security research, especially if you're hacking like a website that doesn't have a bug bounty program, may not have like a security contact or something like that, this is probably a good way to try and get some of those other direct lines of contact. Because I know this is something that Sam struggles with. Like, it's very hit or miss. Some of the websites that he'll be hacking, like he'll try and reach out to somebody and it's impossible to get through. He'll have to like go to LinkedIn, he'll have to go to Twitter, he'll have to hit up like random employees who are working at the company on like random social media. So this might be something that's useful if you're not getting a lot of traction with your initial email.
Yeah, send it over. I definitely want to check it out. And I think like I've kind of poked around on like LinkedIn and some other places trying to find, you know, the right person to come in contact with. And I think the other thing is that I don't know, you know, what Sam's LinkedIn presence is, but I feel like if you had a bigger LinkedIn presence, you know, I feel like that might help, because you could just kind of like, you know, reach out to your network, and we're all like, you know, 7 degrees away from like some obscure person on the other side of the world. So I'm sure somehow you could get in contact with the right people if you had a big enough presence in sort of a professional network.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually I was wondering the website, you know, we got a little derailed here, but the website that posted this blog post, hackcompute.com.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
First of all, never heard of them. And I was looking into it, and I have a feeling we might be hearing more from this group in the future, because they have nothing posted on this blog except for a forward from January 6 months ago that's like talking about how the industry has changed and all this stuff, and you know, we like, you know, now we just hack stuff for like good, and you know, how this group will like focus on really high impact stuff. And then 6 months later they post this blog about hacking the TLD CCTLD
Yeah, I
root
kind of feel
servers.
like this group of people, Sam, Brett, Reese, and Shubs, they're just like, hey, let's make this like cool hacker group and then like pwn the internet. And they're like,
Yeah.
cool. What's the most crazy thing we could go for? Okay, well, what if we could control every single domain in the whole internet?
Yeah, exactly.
And then they just, it takes them what, T-5 months? Not even, probably, because they were probably having this conversation way before that. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy.
100%. Super cool. Yeah, but
oh my gosh, dude, look at this. If you look at I just saw this, if you look at the Telegram communication they were having with this guy about halfway through the hacking EPP servers blog post, it says January 14th is when they're having that conversation. So when did they post this? They
January
posted
18th.
January 15th. Oh,
No,
did they really?
No, but they created their initial forward on January 18th. So,
Okay, gotcha. So maybe it was the other way around. Maybe they're just like, oh, what if we hacked the whole internet?
yeah,
As a cool security group.
as a cool security group, yeah. So I'm hoping to see some more stuff from this group. These are some real heavy hitters, and I'll be curious if it's just going to be like that core group of people, or if they're going to branch out and just do like just blog posts with anybody who's doing this kind of hacking or what it is. But but
would be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, definitely give that blog post a read. It's super consumable. It's very straightforward, and it's an awesome example of just the old, outdated, vulnerable infrastructure that's all over the place on the internet.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of consumable blog posts, another banger from that Shubs tweeted out is this one that just popped up this morning, actually. So I'm really glad we recorded the pod today because, Shubs et al., tweeted the crazy EPP server thing last night. And then this morning he tweeted this, and I'm just like, man, these are like right top of the list.
Yeah.
So this next one we wanted to talk about was a write-up by a group apparently called summoning.team. I guess that's the name of the company. And this is on a couple CVEs that were released earlier this year for VMware vRealize Network Insight. And this was a really cool vulnerability. And I love stuff surrounding nginx configurations after my, life and death experience with the nginx configuration files with Sam Erb last year that we presented on at DEF CON. So I love reading nginx related stuff. And as Shub said in his tweet, this is like a crazy cool little twist on nginx reverse proxies. So essentially the TLDR of this, I don't know, did you get to review it or not?
Yeah, I reviewed some of it.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Yeah. So the TLDR of this was, it's a pretty straightforward command injection. And you actually see this, the procedure that they used to get it was create support bundle. And this is something that I've actually seen a lot in enterprise software is like, there's normally some sort of weird endpoint somewhere that it allows you to create a bundle for support so that, they can send off all the logs and stuff like that to, the team to provide, support for the product.
Yeah.
And of course, the way that these sort of like dev oriented backend functionalities get implemented is, of course, just calling stuff straight from the command line. So you get a pretty textbook command injection there. But I think the cool part was the nginx bug. And it took me a second to sort of realize what was going on here. But the reverse proxy that they have in place is supposed to be filtering out a specific route, which is this SaaS REST to SaaS servlet location.
Yeah.
And for the first time I looked at it, I don't know if you had the same thing, Joel, but I was like, man, I feel like this should be really obvious to bypass, but it's not, because they're just like reverse proxying to the same location on the back end. But what ended up doing it was, this sort of, it's not really an off by / sort of thing. It's pretty close to that, but just abusing the sort of dot functionality in directories and the way that nginx takes care of that to be able to hit the same endpoint on the back end that you would have only been able to hit via the first little location snippet there. And so it's kind of hard to explain over audio, but it's a really cool bypass. So we'll link it down in the show notes and definitely check it out if you enjoy nginx configuration stuff.
Yeah. So basically, like when you have like nginx configs, you have these location like routes that basically say like anything under this path or maybe matching this regex should be handled like by this route, like this by these rules. And if apparently this is something new to me. I didn't know this, but yeah, if you put like a / before your path, that's equivalent in routing. It's equivalent to like going to that path, but it gets handled differently by the nginx config. So that lets you bypass like the nginx config rule, but still hit that path and be able to hit the path that you weren't supposed to access with no off. So crazy.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I really like it a lot.
Yeah. And it looks like the person behind this blog, by the way, I was looking a little bit in the about section on this summoning team, and it says that I don't know if it's a team of people or if it's just this one person, but it says their name is Cinna, and they're a vuln researcher, and they link out to their Twitter, Synology. They are a Pwn participant. They work on Microsoft MVR. So yeah, it seems like somebody who knows their stuff, and is definitely not their first time around this type of stuff. So this is pretty dope.
Nice, dude. That's pretty rad. I just followed them on Twitter. Definitely going to try to keep up with that. I definitely want to at some point participate in Pwn. Like, I think that's going to be on the bucket list item for a while. You know, HackerOne keeps us pretty busy with the live hacking events that we run here, but at some point I may have to be like, you know what, I'm just going to take the next couple months and focus on Pwn related stuff, because that'd be a cool bucket list item, I think. Yeah,
100%. I have the same goal.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So that's, let's see. The only other thing I wanted to bring up in the news section for today was literally right before this call again. So once again, the news killing it. I'm glad we decided to record when we did. Roy from Zoom, the guy that runs the Zoom bug bounty program, tweeted out Zoom's new sort of vulnerability impact scoring system. And Joel and I were privy to this because we'd heard about it before through some channels. But you know, they just released it, and essentially it's a replacement for CVSS. And I don't know, man. What do you think about it? It's kind of
This is like you know, they're like, do you know what a backronym is?
A what?
A backronym. Okay, a backronym is like when you it's like when you take like you have an acronym that you want, and you come up with words that fit that acronym that describe it, right? So it's like, you'll see this a lot with like congressional bills and stuff.
Oh,
they'll have like
sure.
a fancy like short name for it that's like pronounceable, like a real word or something. Yeah. And then each letter stands for some like ridiculously long. Yeah.
But it doesn't like perfectly correlate to the concept. Like, you're like, definitely like, started with the acronym and then worked back. I like that.
Exactly.
Backronym.
Yeah. So it's called a backronym. Good. This feels like a backronym for like trying to figure out how you're supposed to codify bounty payments. You know what I mean? Like, instead of just looking at it and being like, this is this impact and we should be paying this much because it's that bad according to our table, you're like, all right, we have to like break this down into like completely consistent across the board segments that we can then like plug into a uniform system and get like reliable output results back. And like, that's awesome, but that is like, I feel like it's trying to overcomplicate us like a solution for a problem that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there is a problem. Like, I feel like CVSS is definitely not amazing, but it's something that we've become used to. And I think VSS or VISS, which is the thing that they named it. I don't know. Just for me as a bug bounty hunter, it increases my risk and my friction for using, for reporting bugs to Zoom, because it's like, okay, now I've got to go read this whole spec that you invented, so you've definitely got the upper hand here, right? And I don't know anything about any of the metrics, like I don't.
It's not like a small spec either, by the way.
No, it's not. Like, it's a long spec.
It's a long spec. It's very complex. So, it's probably as dense or more dense than CVSS itself. Yeah.
And so, on one hand, I like to see a good stab taken at, CVSS and the current vulnerability, metric system. But on the other hand, I feel like this misses the mark on the side of simplicity. Maybe this covers, everything that they wanted it to cover. But for me as a bug bounty hunter, my risk just doubled or tripled, to report a bug here. So I think overall it will negatively impact their bug bounty program, just from a participation perspective. And then, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see how it plays out. If more people adopt it, that could not be the case, but we'll kind of see.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple other programs try and do similar stuff to this.
Yeah.
Even when I worked at Uber tried to do a similar thing to this, and we found that it was just like really, really complicated to try and do it for all bugs. There were certain things where we could like certainly codify the bounties. Like generally speaking, XSS was something that you could like, depending on what
Sure.
type of XSS. And then maybe there was a modifying factor if it's like particularly sensitive or the report shows additional impact or something like that. But, generally speaking, like we would be able to pay an XSS the same like across the board. But that's not the case for every kind of bug. And trying to do that for like everything uniformly, every single type of bug within one system is very, very difficult.
Yeah,
so
totally
I'll,
agree.
I'll be interested to see how this actually pans out. I think
Same.
using this as like part of their calculation would be a great idea, but using it for the whole calculation just leaves a lot of room for like, oh, the calculator says this, even though we don't agree with it, we're going to pay it because the calculator says that, and that's consistent, right? And I don't think that is going to land great.
Yeah, I agree, man. And who knows, I think hackers are going to hack and someone will probably read through this whole spec and figure out, okay, how can I, eke a high or a crit out of something that I find on a pretty regular basis, with the configuration tenants, with the
Right.
different metrics in this guy. So, maybe it'll work out in the favor of the hacker. I just feel pretty, being on the hacking side, I feel apprehensive.
Yeah, you just have to figure out how to game the calculator so that you get the highest score possible with the least effort, and then
that's
the calculator says it. I don't.
That's what the guys, that's when whenever programs stick very intensely to CVSS. I know a couple people that will just not on a specific very high paying program that just will hold on to their bugs and figure out like some weird fringe way to affect like integrity, even if it's a confidentiality bug. And then like, you just get that extra bump, which is like, at that point it's like 10 grand and you're like, cha-ching. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
cool.
pretty good.
I see you have a note in here that says, do you ask yourself why on black box testing? And I was curious what that meant.
Okay, all right. Let me explain this. And there's a tweet going out about this later today. It'll land before the pod drops. But on this live hacking event scope that we're working on, I've run into a bug or two that really I decided I feel like I move too quickly sometimes on these sort of things. I like, oh cool, a bug, and then I like report it, and then and not that I necessarily move on, but that I'll just like keep searching. But I think I need to pause for a second. I really need to put some like CPU cycles into, by that I mean, brain energy into like, why did that work? Like, what does this bug tell me about the mistakes that companies will be making in their infrastructure and in their coding practices? And what can I determine about that might help me find similar bugs? And I don't, I've heard people sort of talk about this before, but I'm not sure I've ever sat down and actually put like 5 minutes of thought into, all right, well, if this, happens here, then maybe, this is what's happening on the back end, and just kind of worked through that whole thought progression. And because I did that this time, I found some interesting stuff. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I think that's a great approach because oftentimes when something goes wrong, it's a systemic problem. It doesn't mean that it's like implemented like in one place and it's affecting multiple things. That could be what it is, but oftentimes it's that like a developer has seen a pattern somewhere else and they're just copying that pattern, or maybe they just literally made like a single one-off mistake. And that happens too, where it's only in one spot and it may not be a common issue, but trying to understand what led them to make that logical leap or whatever to actually write that error into the code, like trying to figure that out and then play on that like later down the line, even if it's not within the same field. So say it's you find an IDOR through some specific case, you can test that IDOR with the same ID, the same type of ID in other places, but I would also test that same IDOR like method or whatever with other IDs in other places, because it could be that it's not like specific to a user ID, for example. It could be that it's also working on group IDs or whatever type of IDs exist, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that tip. And I think this is where being in your shoes as someone who reads, large corporation backend code on a regular basis, I think that really helps for mapping out like what could possibly be happening and why a specific vulnerability would be in place. Cause like for me, I did like, a year of PHP dev when I was 18 years old at like a startup incubator, and that's the extent of my knowledge of backend writing code processes, right? So I don't have much to lean on there, but I feel like if you have a little bit more of an understanding of how things might be implemented, especially when companies release these docs that sort of talk about their backend architecture, like, and by the way, I did check, we can release who's in this live hacking event. This is Zoom cool. And Salesforce. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
And I'll just give them a shout out right away. Salesforce, they dropped some really, really nice public documentation. They put it all in a doc for us during this event, and it made it so much easier to understand what's happening, in the back end. And I kind of read through a bunch of that. And I think when I found bugs and I started correlating it to the way that their infrastructure is designed, things started to become a little bit more clear. And that's the kind of stuff you like to have when you're trying to find all these bugs. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of these companies have way better documentation than others. Salesforce. Are we allowed to say specifically what the like things within it are?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay,
yeah.
So you can imagine what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking
but
about, though,
one of them has pretty good documentation, but then a lot of the endpoints that I'll be looking at that seem fairly basic, I'll look it up and I'll expect to find docs, and there's nothing for it.
Yeah.
So it really varies, but I that's also like one of the awesome things is if a company has extensive documentation, read through it and try and find things that are inconsistent or sound like weird functionality, because it might be something that's vulnerable by design that you can exploit to your advantage, or it might just be something that doesn't line up with how it's actually behaving in the real world. And then that's a perfect use case where you can say, hey, the docs say it should be behaving this way. It's actually not. Bounty.
Yeah. The vulnerable by design thing sort of just, I don't know, man. I've gotten burned on that a couple times because there are some really poor architecting decisions happening at like a very large level with some of these big companies that we're hacking on all the time, right? And as I try to point some of these out, they're like, yeah, that's what we told the dev team when they wrote the project. Yeah. So internal dupe. But I'm like, okay, but you still let them make the product, like, I don't know, maybe security just doesn't have enough sway in these larger corporations, but you hate to see stuff like that because it puts users at so much risk, and it also pisses off bug bounty hunters. Yeah,
it's like a weird state because some of it is accepted risk. It's like, they know that this is an issue, but it's not like an issue that they consider to be an issue. So it's like, if it becomes public, then that doesn't really matter to them. And maybe they'll change it then, but a lot of the time there's just not enough effort to.
And accepted risk is one thing, but like, and if they say that, then that's fine, and I'm gonna blog about it, because at least some of the stuff that I'm thinking of right now, that I'm, you can see me, Joel.
Justin's holding himself back. He's like his blood pressure is 180 over 30.
And so, oh man, my heart's gonna explode, Joel. Damn. But if they, I think the users need to be, the company can accept the risk, but users need to be able to make an informed decision about, if they accept that risk when utilizing a certain service provider. And I think that's where a little bit of a disconnect comes, because I can write my blog all I want. And, as a, medium-sized player in the security world, maybe, 50,000 people or 100,000 people will read it or something like that on a good day. But, that information is not trickling all the way down to the users that are making the decision to use that service provider on a daily, weekly basis. Right. And so I don't know, there's a little bit of a disconnect there. This is the ramblings of a frustrated security researcher, but yeah, there's not a really great solution out there in our current, state. And that is what it is.
Yeah. Cool. All right. You want to hit the main topic for this episode?
Yeah, man, I think that was the longest news segment we've ever done. And it was news plus bug bounty revelations or whatever. But yeah, but we'll keep it a little tight today because we're both in the live hacking event and just kind of chilling, on pod stuff and focusing on hacking stuff. But the thing that we wanted to talk about today was doing some I don't know, just dropping some cool physical setup stuff that we've got. I've got a pretty cool hacking setup from my perspective, but I realized recently, the perspective you're getting in the background might need some work, because if you look at like Stoke and Jay Haddix and some of the other guys, like, when you hop on a video call with them, it's like boom, like, and they're like in their hacker den with the lights coming on, and like cool things spinning in the background. And so I think I need to kind of level up on that front.
I know, me too. I see some of those, like Naham as well. He has like,
oh yeah, Naham's sick as well, for sure.
All these people have like really amazing like backgrounds that are like set up and like designed. They got like little like trinkets and stuff that like fill the space, and I just got like 15 posters behind me.
Same, bro, same. Yeah, I ought to hit Stoke up, because I want to say I saw something somewhere about someone flying Stoke out somewhere to help them design their sort of like hacker setup,
Oh,
and
that's
unfortunately Stoke doesn't make it over to the East Coast very often, but maybe I'll do like a virtual consulting session with him and be like, Stoke, how do I make this cool?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so to that end, basically, as people who spend all day at a computer and at a desk, like generally speaking, we think it's very worthwhile to put your money where your butt is, right? And so that's like your keyboard, your mouse, your monitors, your desk, your chair, your environment that you're working in, like all that stuff. Like, if it's where you're spending 8+ hours a day, a third of your life, then you should probably make an investment, right? It's just like a bed, right? Buy a good mattress, buy good, if you're walking a lot, buy good shoes. If you're sitting a lot, buy a good chair, right? If you're using your computer a lot, buy a good computer.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I totally agree. And I had a little, anecdote that I wanted to share on this behalf. When I was in college, I was pretty busy. I interned at a big company, Dominion Energy in Richmond. And so I was biking back and forth from Dominion to my school, on a regular basis. So I was staying, pretty active. And I graduated and got my first hacking job. And I feel like, a year and a half, 2 years just kind of blew by. And then I remember sitting at my apartment, and realizing like, man, I'm not very active right now. Like, why do I have, what is this fat that's on the lower side of my bed? Like, what is going on here? And I was like, yeah, you know what? It's fine. I'm probably not too far along. Let me just go like hit the treadmill for a little bit. And so I hit the treadmill and I ran like, 0.25 miles, and I was like, I was dying. And so it's like, yeah. And I just also, I realized my posture had sort of changed from staying at the desk just from like a year and a half. And I think I was just kind of blinded by, the new career, the new setup, sort of grinding on bug bounty and hacking stuff at the time. And I totally put out the window, the personal fitness and the posture and that sort of thing. Investments that needed to be made to save me some time, and energy. And since then, I've remediated a lot of those issues, and we can talk about some of the stuff that I've done to do that today. But I just wanted to, say this for anyone listening that kind of finds himself in that similar scenario. The longer you wait on this, the harder it gets. Right? I don't care if you've been doing this for 10 years. If you do it for 15 years, if you do it for 11 years, if you do it for 10 years and 6 months, it's going to be harder than it was at 10 years, right? So
for sure.
You need to make those lifestyle changes ASAP, and it doesn't have to be drastic, but it should be intentional, I think, because it's all too easy to kind of let it go and then have it become unmanageable.
Yeah, for sure. Have you always been like a computer person, like sitting and like using computers growing up?
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Okay,
yeah. I started really getting into computers when I was like 10.
Yeah, same. Okay, so I don't know if it's similar for you, but like I'm in my mid-20s, I have lower back pain already, like just from sitting all day. Like, if I sit too much or if I'm hunched over at my desk for like, even for like one day, if I have like a long day where I'm particularly like heads down and I'm like bent over, like my back, I'll feel it for sure. And I have to do like certain stretches and stuff to like stretch out my lower back.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I haven't had lower back quite as much. But I do notice that my posture suffers for sure. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
definitely have, computer neck sometimes,
Yes.
and I'm like got my neck forwarded, that sort of thing. And I've always been, I think I sort of shouted Corbin out on the pod when he came on, but like, if you look at any of the HackerOne media, Corbin's a good looking guy for sure. So there's that helps as well. But I think he shows up in a lot of HackerOne photos because he's just got such a, like, he's got good posture, he's got a good build, like
Yeah, he's got
in
good
any of the,
he doesn't have the gamer neck. Like,
yeah, he doesn't have the gamer neck, and it's because he's putting in the reps at the gym, man.
yeah.
I've talked to him about that. I was like, what kind of exercises are you doing and stuff like that, and he attributes a lot of that to deadlift and stuff like that. So I don't know, I do deadlift. Do you deadlift?
I used to a little bit. Honestly, my main
Yeah.
concern is injuring myself.
Yeah.
Like I think if I was going to do, I was going to talk about this. So yeah, like doing workouts and stuff that are specific to your work environment is something that's super helpful, right? Like again, you sit all day, do like ab, core, like lower back workouts and stuff like that. That's going to build those muscles because inherently by sitting and not using them, those muscles aren't getting worked and they're not going to be as strong as the rest of your muscles, right? We're going to have like, pretty like good muscles in like our arms and whatever from like typing and like using our eyes. We're not going to get eye strain to the same effect and all that kind of stuff, but like the other areas are where it's going to suffer. So I think targeting those areas, and it doesn't have to be deadlifts. You can do like there's other squats and you can do like leg presses and whatever, like there's lots of stuff that you can do to build those muscles.
So you've got a standing desk, right, Joel?
I do. Yeah, I should actually fucking use it.
I was going to say, like, I feel like every time I record the pod, whenever I'm recording the pod, there's just a certain amount of energy that I want to put into it. And I just feel like that matches standing way better than sitting. So like 90% of the time when we're recording the pod, I'm standing at my desk. And I stand at my desk maybe like once or twice a day, normally when I'm just doing hacking and just working on normal stuff. See, dude, that actually looks better with your background too. If you get that lamp out of there though, and you just kind of get it locked in, you've actually got a pretty good setup, I think.
Yeah,
that works
not
well.
bad. Maybe I should be standing more.
How tall are the ceilings in your room?
They're 8 feet, I think.
Standard height? Just
Yeah.
Normal 8 feet?
Yeah.
Nice. Now that looks good. Sorry for you people.
No,
actually
I'm not.
to the
I'm not
podcast
tall
via
enough.
audio.
So, yeah,
doesn't hit the top.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I use Uplift desks, and
Same.
I think they're great, man. It's worth it. Your Uplift as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's really nice, and I did want to do a shout out to Mariah here. I have an L Uplift desk, so I bought. I had it. I bought one of their fully designed products and I had it sent to me. But Mariah actually just bought she has an Uplift desk as well. And she just bought the legs and she went to Home Depot and got a butcher block top and oiled it up and got it looking pretty. And then we just screwed it on top of and it looks super good. Way better than mine that I just bought directly from Uplift. So that's a really good opportunity as well. And I think it only cost her like $150 total.
Yeah. So it really depends on the size that you're going for. The legs, like just buying the legs like independently like that, it's like a great solution, especially maybe you already have a desk or a desktop that you like and you can take it off. For me, I wanted a huge desk. Like I like having a lot of space on my desk. I keep a lot of stuff on my desk. I have like speakers and monitors and my PC is on my desk and all that kind of stuff. So I like having like as much space as I could. When I was looking at standing desk, Uplift Desk had the largest standing desk that I could find. And I think it's like 84 inches or something long. It's wow, dude. It's huge. Yeah. So it's great. Like I have much more space than I would ever need. And the top, if you buy the top directly from them, like finding a piece of hardwood material or something like that's that large to get shipped to you is about the same price and hard to find. So I ended up just getting the top with them. But I think. And
did you get an L or did you?
No, I have a fully straight one. I have a friend who has like the L shape with like it's a long portion and they have a shorter like L portion. And I had really thought about that, but it really depends on the room. Like that's what I found. I moved with this desk 1 or 2 times and. Depending on what your office layout is going to depend on whether or not that desk is really going to work in the room. So I didn't want to have to keep like rebuying desks and all that kind of stuff. So I just stuck with like a straight long desk. But I will
Yeah,
probably eventually replace this, and I'm not sure if I'll do the same.
I've got like the 5x4, I think.
Yeah.
Is what it, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a little tight, I think. I think it could be, and it fits my room perfectly, so I'm glad I bought it. And I'm not planning on moving much. I think maybe I'll move, 1 or 2 times in the rest of my life, probably.
Yeah.
And so I decided to buy the desk for this space. But yeah, I think next time I would go with a 6. No, this is actually a 6. This is a 6x4. I think next time I would go a little bit bigger though, because it does help to have that additional room over to the side, and especially when you've got an L shape, I've got my monitor set up, which I'll talk about in a second, which I absolutely love, by the way. It takes up a good chunk of the desk, and I need some workspace as well. Like, for example, when we were doing the hardware hacking stuff, I had to set up this little table, behind me here to get the hardware hacking stuff at a good spot, because if I was trying to do it on this table, everything just got too crowded.
Yeah, well, that's actually a tip that I didn't write it down, but I think that's a good one. I have let me see if I can hold this up.
Yeah.
So I have this
Nice.
like portable table. It's got a little knob here, so you can raise and lower it as you want.
Oh, nice,
and it's on wheels. It's on these casters.
Oh, sick.
And essentially I keep it underneath my desk all the time. And then if I ever need extra space, I just wheel it out. I raise it up to the height I want, lock it. Portable table, good to go. You can lock the wheels if you want. And I have 1 or 2 of those. Like I keep one of them in my office. I keep another one like somewhere else in the house. But when I'm doing like the hardware hacking stuff, for example, even I don't have enough room on my desk for all that hardware, like all the tools and stuff.
Mr. 7-foot desk over here doesn't have enough room on his desk.
That's correct. So even with my 7-foot desk, I don't have enough room for it. So I like having those extra portable, like flexible spaces. And I actually have another one right back here. I don't know if that's in frame.
See it, yeah.
But that also is like just sort of like a portable tabletop that I can pull out. I use it for like eating. I'll use it for various things, but having that available is awesome.
Do the wheels lock on it?
This one's not on wheels, but the other one does. Yeah, it has locking wheels.
Yeah, that's cool. I hadn't really thought about getting a little side table like that. That's flexible for the space. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, and it's sort of like flexible, like tabletop space is really useful, so that you don't have to like reorganize your desk if you want to do something big.
Yeah, for sure. Okay,
cool.
So, dude,
monitors.
Let's talk monitors, because I
feel like most people don't realize that like you're in front of a fucking space station. like
dude, I am, man. And it's so freaking great. It's like, this is literally a childhood dream fulfilled. Okay. So let me lay this out for you. Okay. So like I mentioned, I've been into computers since I was like, 10, 12, that sort of range. Right. And I have pretty, I don't have a great memory of my like childhood. It's just all kind of like, yeah, that was pretty good, So especially timelines, it wasn't great. So it's like somewhere back in most of the time that I can remember, I was in love with computers. But I do remember the point when I became in love with computers. And I've talked about this on the pod before, but it was just one time this guy from my church came over and he typed into a, black command line box and fixed the internet so I could play my games. And I was like, dude, that was really cool. I got to learn how to do that. So anyway, I'd see him every Sunday because we were going to church every Sunday. And so I'd start asking him, hey, how can I learn about this? Blah, 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 blah. And being the awesome guy that he is, he like brought me to his work, which was a university, the university that I ended up going to, by the way.
Nice.
And he was like, check out like the setup, right? So I walk into his office and, he's like a sysadmin or something like that. I think he's higher up now, and the guy has 6 monitors and it's like, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, just like massive array. There's like graphs going off on all of them. He's like monitoring this and that and the other thing. And I was like, dude, this is sick.
Awesome.
And from that moment on, I was like, I know someday I'm going to have that. I got to set it up. And then finally, when we moved back from Japan, I'm like, all right, I might actually stay in this house for more than a year, which we hadn't done since I was like 17 at that point. And so I invested and I bought and right as I was getting ready to build the setup, dude, do you guys have like the Restore near you? Do you know what that is?
Restore.
The Restore. It's the name of the store.
Like the furniture store?
The Habitat for Humanity thing.
Yeah.
Yep. So dude, most people I think that listen to the pod know I do real estate stuff on the side. So I was going to the restore to get some stuff for my real estate projects, and I walk in there and I see like 12 27-inch 4K HP monitors sitting there, and I'm like, what the heck? And I walk over there and they're $40 each.
Dude,
these are $400 monitors. They're selling for $40. So I said, I run over to the desk. I'm like, I'm buying all of those. And I just slam my wallet down on the counter. And I'm like, I'm buying all of those. And he's like, okay, all right. We'll get someone to help you move them to your car.
Just as the real version of the fry, shut up and take my money.
Dude, just shut up and take my money, man. Because it was like, oh, I was so happy. And so, I walk out of there. So some of them weren't 4K or whatever. So I was like, we'll leave those. But I think I ended up getting like 7 or 8 27-inch 4K monitors, man. And I was thrilled. So what I'm looking at right now is I've got an Uplift sort of monitor mount setup. I've got 4 27-inch monitors, 4K monitors in a square. And I realized after I got this, I was like, man, I don't have a computer that can handle 420. So I ended up having to buy this crazy computer that we'll talk about later. But I finally got it set up, and it's like I have full vision of all of them. And man, does it help with testing, because you can just segment your different accounts to a different monitor, and it's like, man, it's so much easier to keep your session straight. So yeah, I think it's really, really great for a bug bounty hunter.
Nice, that's awesome. Yeah, I am nothing close to that. I have
he says I am nothing.
Yeah, I am nothing not like I'm like a
in my presence.
Yes, I'm like an elementary school child compared to Justin's setup. I have 2 1440p monitors. They're both 27 inches.
Nice. It's a good number, man. 27 feels good.
Yeah, one's 75 hertz, the other one is 244 hertz. My main one in front of me is the 244 hertz, so it's like a really nice you can do like gaming, and it's like super high refresh rate, so it looks great. It's IPS, so it has really accurate colors, all that kind of stuff. So that's like my main like straight on monitor. And then to my side, I have just for like that's the 75 hertz for everything else. Then I also it's not really a monitor, but it's like my laptop. I have it's like a monitor arm, kind of like what I use for my microphone here. It's like a pneumatic arm, but on the end of it, it has a flat laptop plate that I can just put my laptop on. And it just holds my laptop in the air, and it's mounted to my desk. So if I move my desk up, laptop comes with me. If I move my desk down, laptop comes with me. All the cables and everything are like tethered to this. I can just like pull it closer to me if I want. I can move it further away, just on an arm. It just floats there.
You use a Mac, right?
Yep.
So I mean, how do you mount that into your setup? Do you have like a mounting station, or is there like just single cord, or what?
Yeah, so depending on what I'm doing, I'll use like a hub. For the most part, I don't have to plug like so much stuff in. My router is like right here, so I get like crazy fast speeds over Wi-Fi as it is. So I really don't need to be plugged in over Ethernet. But if I do, I have a switch right behind my PC, which is right next to it, and I can just plug it in. I have a Ethernet cable that's just not plugged in. It's just right here, and I can just plug it in if I need to.
Nice.
Behind my monitor, I have like a clamshell dock, because I have 2 laptops actually. I have a work laptop, my personal laptop. So it has 2 slots, and then that will plug into my main monitor. So it's a little bit of a complex setup.
What is a clamshell dock? What is that? Oh, he's gonna try to go get it, man. Here we go.
It's this. I actually 3D printed this. I designed and 3D printed this.
No way, dude.
Yeah. So it holds 2 laptops like this. You just slot them in, and then they just sit on their edge, and when they're plugged in, they'll still work and stuff, but you don't have to have them open. So I have it set up so that if I want to use a laptop on my monitor setup, I'll put it in clamshell, I'll just like put it in my stand, I'll plug in an HDMI cable. I have a button on my Stream Deck, which I use to set my PC to only display on the secondary monitor. Okay, this is like, it's a little hacky, okay? But basically like Windows, you can have it mirror or extend or display only on one or only on the other, right? So I tell it, okay, only display on one monitor. The main monitor in front of me then goes, oh, there's no input on DVI. I'm going to fall back to whatever has an input, which is the laptop that's plugged in on HDMI. And then
that is hacky.
Yes. And then I have this piece of software. It's amazing. It's by a company called Simless. and it's called Synergy. It's been around for a while. It's basically a software KVM, and it allows me to configure all of my computers with a client server thing. The server runs on my PC, and then I have a client on my laptops, and I can seamlessly move my mouse and keyboard across screens to different computers. It'll share my clipboard. Does it work that well, though? It's instant. Like, there's no latency, no nothing. I've used this for like years, and it's
No way.
Yeah,
dude,
it's amazing.
That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I use it on the daily basis. Like, I don't even notice it. Like, every once in a while, if there's like network stuff going on internally, then I'll have like maybe like a jump or something on the mouse, but like it's generally latency-less. So I can use the same mouse and keyboard across everything.
Let me just confirm this here. So you've got two laptops, your work laptop and your personal laptop, and then you've got a desktop computer.
Yep, and that runs Windows.
And that runs Windows. Okay.
Yep.
And so you run Synergy on the desktop computer, you have Synergy running on your client, running on your laptops, and that allows you to, sort of pull the display onto your desktop, and then you can just kind of seamlessly jump between all of these.
Yeah, so basically I can use the same keyboard and mouse from my PC. I can even do like rebindings and stuff. So for example, like Mac uses Command, right? So I have Synergy set up to automatically rebind my like Command key and my Option keys such that I don't have to change like my hand position on my keyboard when I cross OS. So if I do like Control C or whatever, it's in the same spot as it would be on a Mac, and my brain just does the back and forth. That's what I use. I just use one keyboard and mouse from my PC across to my other devices, and then I use my same two monitors. If I ever want to show a laptop, I'll just plug it into the main monitor, cut my PC over to a single screen, and then I can still use my PC on the secondary monitor, and I can just move my mouse back and forth, even across to my laptop that's on the stand here.
Wow. Dang, dude, that's pretty sick. I've always wanted sort of like that Synergy sort of setup to work, across multiple different computers and having one mouse, but I haven't really ever gotten anything to work that well. So I'll have to check out Synergy.
Yeah, Synergy is pretty solid. I've been using it for a number of years now. I tried a couple other different pieces of software. I think there's an open source version of it somewhere as well that's like not terrible. This one has been pretty much the best one that I've found, and the most consistent in terms of like performance and usability and all that kind of stuff.
So I have in the notes as well, you have a capture card, don't you, that you use for some sort of what do you do with that? Yeah,
so I bought a capture card for like playing games or something. Honestly, the biggest advantage that I found with it is that a capture card is essentially a software display, right? So if you download the capture software and you have the capture card plugged in, it has an HDMI input that you can use, and normally you can like record off of it or display it in your stream or whatever you're going to do with it. But you can also just open the software and you can display whatever's going on the input. So I'll take a Raspberry Pi. If I need to see something on the display, I'll plug it in. Or if I need to debug something with a temporary display, I'll just plug it into my capture card, and then I'll just pull the software up, and I don't have to have like an extra monitor or something that I have lying around that I use just for those things.
Yeah, that's that right there. That's my extra monitor that I use to plug in my Raspberry Pi. That's pretty sick, dude. Actually, especially for that specific, circumstance that you talked about where you're trying to have the Raspberry Pi displayed, that's something that I've been like, man, I like, especially with the monitor mounts that I've got. I'm putting my hand right in front of my webcam here. Especially with the monitor mounts that I've got up, like it's such a pain in the ass to like get behind it and plug in stuff. And so, I just am using this one of my other $40, 4K monitors that I've got. But I think a capture card would be a really nice addition. And I actually think, because Mariah was doing streaming for a while, and I think we've got one somewhere. So I ought to go see if I can track that down and try to use it to do stuff like that, because that'd be really handy to have it all in one spot. Yeah,
for sure. Keyboard and mouse. I use a custom keyboard.
Joel, I could feel it. I knew you were a keyboard junkie.
Yes, I'm a keyboard junkie. Hold on, I'll give you a little sound test here. Let's see if I can...
Oh my gosh. Dude, it's like ASMR right there, like that.
Yeah, pretty good. So nice. It's called a Vega. They're like impossible to get, but I have a friend who had one and I got it for like crazy cheap. So anybody who knows keyboards will probably be like losing their mind. But yes, I have a Vega. It's all white. And for my mouse, I use the G Pro Super Light. It's like super crazy lightweight. The main reason I really like that is because it
Really?
has this.
You like that?
Yes, the main thing I like is that it has
I
this
don't
little
know.
puck here, and this puck is called light speed. And essentially, Logitech has this software, and I bought into this a little while ago. They have a mouse pad that has like a coil inside of it, and that coil communicates with this little puck here to charge your mouse wirelessly through the mouse pad. So I never ever plug my mouse in. It's fully wireless. And
What?
it has sub 1 millisecond response time because it was made for
Are
gaming.
you kidding me?
It uses like a 2.4 gigahertz receiver, and
Damn, Joel, you have the coolest shit, man. I swear. Like,
yeah. So I used to have like a heavier like gaming. It was like a G903 or something. I think is what it was, and that was pretty good for a while. But it had like extra buttons, and it just was like heavier than I wanted. And I found out that the Superlight has support for the little charging puck, and I already had the mouse pad, and I wanted to keep that because I don't like plugging stuff in. So
yeah,
I've been using that, and that's been amazing.
dude, it's so funny. Like, for some reason, literally every time my mouse dies, I'm in a League of Legends game, like without fail, and I'm like in the middle of a team battle, and like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't move, like help.
That's terrible.
Cover me.
But I saw you had one of these. Yeah,
yeah.
So this was my main
Logitech,
mouse for a long time.
For those of you actually listening to our podcast, it's the Logitech MX Master 3 is the one I use.
Yeah, so I've got the original. This is the first version, but yeah, I love my MX Master as like a daily like comfort, like just daily driver mouse. If you don't care about like lightweight mouse and any of that, like wireless charging and all that kind of stuff, MX Master is such a good mouse. I have the MX Anywhere as well, which is their like mini MX mouse for like travel, and that one's also awesome.
Yeah, dude, I love the scroll bar on this guy. Like,
oh yeah, that it can unlock. It's so nice.
And it's got
so
like
nice.
You really like spin it if you really want to, and then you can also push on it, and then it's got like a nice click when you
infinite scroll of my.
It's great.
I
love it. Yeah, it's real good. So I really like this guy. I do have an ergonomic mouse as well, one that kind of is upright and you kind of hold it like that.
I think it's called a vertical mouse.
Yeah, vertical mouse, and it's like pretty good. But I actually haven't felt any wrist issues yet. I say that, and then my wrist, like, I don't know if you can hear
it's cracking.
But it's like cracking like crazy. But man, this is kind of enlightening. Actually, maybe I should. But I could never really get used to it, and it's such a pain when you're trying to like, do your job, and then you just got like a bunch of needless friction. That's derailing your thought process. So I always just kind of reverted back to the MX Master because it's really handy.
Yeah, for sure. For something like that, I think it's really just like, what's your personal preference?
I did there? The MX Master is really handy.
Man, I almost missed it. Oh God.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I thought you'd want to. I thought you'd want to know. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. So as I was saying before, I got dad joked out of existence. Mice are it's really personal preference. It's up to you, like what feels comfortable. So like I know people who have like wrist problems and they swear by those like vertical mice or like the ergonomic, like the ball mice cool. or that kind of stuff. And for me, I just if it feels good, I don't think about it too much, and it is what it is.
For sure. Okay, so we're already at the hour mark here. Wanted to cover a couple things. So I want to talk about. We're going to eliminate the rest of the things on the list here, but I think we should talk about our computer setup, our chairs, and then what was the? Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about my newest little Chromebook setup.
Oh, your Chromebook. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So actually, I'll do that now. It's right here. Actually, it's an Acer. What is it? It's that guy right there. It's an Acer R841T series, and I think it's got like 8 gigs of RAM or something like that. It was only like, I want to say $600.
Okay.
Extremely lightweight, 2 pounds. And it doesn't have a ton of RAM, but it kind of gets the job done. And it's a 13-inch. Is it a 13-inch? Might be an 11-inch. So somewhere in that range. I feel like it's very portable, and that's kind of how I wanted to be able to feel when I was using it. I wanted to be able to just throw it in my little mini backpack, my little Explorer backpack that I've got, and feel like it's not even there, and then pull it out when I need it. To just do some quick typing for content creation or even for hacking. And I brought it on a trip with me to Maine to see Mariah's family. And it worked great for super lightweight hacking, like in the evenings we were sitting around like watching a show or something. And I was like, maybe I'll just fiddle around with something. And I powered up 0 tier. for your recommendation, connected
Nice.
back to my home network, and I had a Kaido instance running on my PC at home,
Nice.
and I used zero tier and Kaido's remote sort of feature to connect into that. I could proxy all my traffic through it, and it was really, really nice. It worked really well, and I could do all of my sort of basic testing that I want to do, at a basic level, nothing crazy, from the Chromebook, and I didn't have to lug around my big, 8-pound laptop that I normally have to use Burp.
Yeah, that's crazy. Are you running anything like custom on it, or is it just the stock OS?
Well, Chromebook added support for Linux, so you can you literally just kind of go in there and just like turn on Linux, and then you've got like a Linux command line. They still don't have like key bindings, which is kind of crazy to me. So I couldn't. I normally like to hit like I have my open a terminal bound to like Windows key enter on my main computer, right? And so I can just boom, and now I'm in the terminal, bam, 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 and it takes like 2 or 3, I guess, keystrokes on the device to get it to open up the terminal. But once it's in, it's pretty much like WSL. It's running a little internal Docker container that runs Linux, and it's pretty functional.
Nice.
And I was actually I was just kind of playing around with it. I was able to install Kaido on the device itself, actually.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So did you just proxy directly to your Kaido IP at home, or like what did you?
I proxied through my Kaido IP at home primarily, but I also at one point installed Kaido on the device and started using it there, but it got a little overrun. Even with Kaido, being as efficient as it is, it got a little overrun with that. So I reverted back to the setup from before of just kind of having it open as a tab in my browser.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I've always thought about doing like a Chromebook. I'm running an old Intel 2018 MacBook, but my work laptop is an M1, and I think for my next laptop I'll probably go with the Apple Silicon. Either I'm actually thinking about maybe a MacBook Air, because the MacBook Air stats, first of all, they're way cheaper, but also they have an M2 in the newest MacBook Air, and it starts at like
really?
Yeah, like the cheap one, the M1 13-inch starts at $1,000, starts at $999. And then like even the 15-inch brand new M2 starts at like $1,200, $1,300. So
wow, that's not bad at all.
It's not like that bad because the price is so much lower with the Apple Silicon. And those chips are insane. They're workhorses. They use like no battery. They're crazy quick. I have basically no complaints except for some of the very, very like edge case weird x86 64 emulation stuff that comes with Rosetta 2. But you can look up that stuff if you're curious about that.
Yeah, no, I was so I held off on buying the setup for a while because it was like, I really kind of want to wait. Well, first of all, like I'm pretty anti-Apple to be perfectly honest, and it's not necessarily founded. Like I feel like there are a lot of, respected hackers and technologists, yourself included, that use Apple as their primary, system, and that's fine. It's just not for me. Like I don't like the feel, the branding. It just I don't know. So I've been kind of waiting for people to come out with a competitor to the M1 because I love the idea of using a system like that, so efficient and so battery efficient. But they're just not doing it. And it's just not happening. And Apple's already releasing M2, and there's not even a competitor to the M1 out there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, guys, like get it together. Yeah. So anyway, at some point I was just like, it's great. It's $600. I'm not gonna it's definitely worth it to have something light and portable with me all the time and reduce that friction to, simple hacking and content creation. So I went ahead and bought it, but I'm definitely going to keep my eye out for, an ARM-based, PC that will come out in the near future.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right, let's talk about chairs real quick. This is, this one's super easy. I think chairs. I see you have a DX Racer. I don't know what your take is on that, but my take is Herman Miller or bust. I had an Aeron for probably about 7 years, and then I switched over to Herman Miller Embody, which is like a better, I guess, in my opinion, better version. It's got better back support and stuff. Also by Herman Miller, and that I've been on that one for maybe 6 months now, and that one's also awesome. I used it when I used to work in the office at my last job, and so I got one for home finally.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I bought this DX Racer like when I graduated college, so I haven't changed it at all since I bought it. But to be honest, I mean, it does the job for me. It's adjustable. The neck support and back support is lower back support is pretty good. It's not as adjustable as it could be, but it's pretty good. And it's something that I haven't spent a lot of time optimizing, but I think at some point I will go ahead and buy Herman Miller because everyone raves about him. But like I said, I don't actually feel a lot of aches and pains from sitting. And I saw a quote recently that was from a respected posture physician of sorts, and they were saying that the best posture for you to have is one that changes every 15 minutes, essentially. Like as long as you're not leaning, if you've got your foot up on your desk and you're like, head cranked to the side, that's fine for 10 minutes, and then you kind of got to move. So as long as you're not staying stagnant in one position for, a long time, it's not too big of a deal, I don't think. Plus I use the standing desk feature of my desk on a pretty regular basis. So I think the chair is a really good investment for most people that spend a lot of time there. For me, it's a little bit lower on the punching list.
Yeah, for sure. I based on what I've read, those racing chairs are like the worst for your back, but yeah, your mileage may vary. Like some people have just like, either they change their position a lot or it doesn't, bother them because they have a strong back or whatever it is. So, whatever works for you. If you want some good chair reviews, there's a YouTube channel that I really like. It's honestly AHNESTLY. We'll link it down below. AHN. Honestly, yeah, like AHNEST.
AHN.
Yeah, ESTLY. Yeah,
and honestly, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
pun.
Interesting spelling on honestly, but he does like chair reviews, but like videos, and he goes like very in depth. He compares them to like other high end chairs and all that kind of stuff. He'll talk about like the drawback. So it's like if you're looking at getting a chair.
What a niche, man.
Nice chairs are expensive. It's like $1,500, $2,000 for a nice chair. And it's an investment that you're going to be sitting in for many, many years. So I would recommend do some research on it. I bought actually during the pandemic, I bought a chair and I used it for like 6 months and I hated it so much that I went back to my old chair, my old Aeron. I switched from an Aeron to like an Office Master something or other. It was like $500 and I was like, oh, this will be great. It's got a headrest and all this stuff. And I used it for 6 months and it was like creaking and it was like hard to use and it wasn't comfortable. And I was like, screw this. And I went back to my Aeron and I used that for another 2 years before I got my body.
Nice, dude. Yeah. It's so funny to me, all these little niches that are all over the place, man. This guy honestly has like 52K subscribers. And
it's just chairs.
It's just chairs. It's just like, he's the chair guy, He's
the chair guy. It's crazy.
That's hilarious. All right, man. That's a wrap on what we had in the doc. You got anything else before we bounce?
No, I don't think so. I could rant on and on about why I bought what I bought. So we should probably end it before.
Yeah, we're gonna cut it. That's great. All right, man. Well, good luck in the live hacking event this week, and yeah, I'll catch you next time.
Yeah, you too. Catch you later.
All right, peace.
Peace.
What's up, y'all? Got some quick announcements for us at the end of the pod here. One, NahamCon is going on this week, so if you haven't signed up for that, head over to nahamcon.com and don't miss out on that the awesome talks that are going to be given. It's definitely going to be a banger this year, so definitely watch that. Also, our producer here at Critical Thinking, Richie Mills, has launched his new audio drama. And I'm not going to lie, I binge listened to the whole thing in the first day that it came out, and it is real good. So if you enjoy sci-fi fantasy, give Homicide at Heaven's Gate a search, and we'll drop it in the description below as well. Definitely recommend. Also, wanted to announce, as I did last week, but re-announce that Jesse Rivera has joined the Critical Thinking podcast team. He'll be doing the blogcast from now on. So if you head over to criticalthinkingpodcast.io and drop your email, you'll always be up to date on the awesome newsletters and text-based content he'll be putting out. That's all for today. See you next week.